is it legal for foreigners, people who do not possess Kenyan ID or who are not Kenyans, to own land in Kenya?
It is, as long as it's a leasehold. The piece of land or the property has a leasehold tenure. And basically that means, and there's two tenures in Kenya, freehold and leasehold. Freehold constitutionally is restricted only to Kenyan citizens, whether naturalized or by birth. Only Kenyan citizens can own freehold land. Leasehold land can be owned by anyone. Land and property can be owned by foreigners as well, which is exactly why places like Kilimani are now loosely referred to as Chinatown, because the Chinese community has focused their investments in that particular zone. And it's not random either. It's very coordinated, and for good reason. And I don't want to give people the impression that it's wrong for the Chinese or any other nationality to own land in Kenya and buy property. It's one of the bases of our economic strength. You know, historically and worldwide today, if you look at the strongest economies, they have very robust property rights that even protect the rights of the foreigner to own property. If you don't have that sorted out, you're going to limit your economic capacity as a country.
What you're doing is limiting entry into the country.
Foreign direct investment is directly affected by that, and all other manner of economic unlocking opportunities happen as a result. So, you know, as long as it's leasehold, foreigners can own, and indeed is happening already.
And to laymanly explain what leasehold means, please explain that.
So leasehold tenure means you have ownership of land for a limited period of time, right? And I know the term lease suggests renting, is what people understand leasing to be, but you have ownership rights. So if I buy a piece of land with a leasehold title or certificate of title, it means I have full ownership rights for the period of time that the lease says. Most new ones will start at 99 years and they are renewable. So at the end of 99 years, I have the option to renew my lease for another 99 years or whatever the law says at that point.
And the constitution did change that from 999 years and brought it down to 99 years.
Yes, rightfully so. You know, I believe with changing times and pressure on land need, the country and the lawmakers rightly saw fit to limit the tenure of ownership from what was in colonial times up to 999 years. I mean, over that period of time, the human population would have exploded. And if you have, a handful of people controlling the land, that's a recipe for disaster. So that was shrunk down to 99 years. And so if you're a foreigner and you're looking to own land in Kenya, that's a tenure you would have to own the land or the property under.
What areas is leasehold available as compared to freehold?
In any part of the country, you can own leasehold property. It is true that most of Kenya is currently under freehold tenure because rural parts of the country were generally used for agricultural purposes as a production base. And freehold tenure, or I should say agricultural land, generally falls under freehold tenure. And there's good reason for that. You don't want to subject your citizens or your countrymen to paying annual taxes for their main production base for survival. Most farmers in Kenya are subsistence farmers, meaning they use the land to grow their food and stay alive. So it doesn't make sense to subject those to annual taxes. So historically, there was a reason, there was a rationale behind that. But today you have huge tracts of land that have been converted to lease by foreign companies. For instance, I know people will recognize companies like Del Monte and the others those are operating on leased land, long-term leases, from the county as well as the national government. So it is not unusual to find leasehold property even in rural Kenya. You have the option to convert your freehold land to lease for the purposes of transferring it to a foreigner.
Whoa.
So that can happen. We're in the process of doing that right now for one of our customers who has foreign nationality, and therefore our freehold land in Imbuko we have to convert to leasehold before we can transfer it to them legally. So that is easy to do. Where you have challenges is the inverse. Changing leasehold to freehold is a bit more difficult.
Thank God.
Yeah, and the main reason I believe is because the government authorities are looking at the potential loss of future tax income.
Okay.
If they allow you to convert, I'm sure it's possible. It's just incredibly difficult.
So to stay with this whole leasehold versus freehold, on leasehold, there are taxes that are due to the government or the county.
Yes.
As a result.
Yes. So for leasehold, there's several taxes. We'll start with the transfer tax. When you buy the land or when it's transferred to you, provided it's not an inherited piece of land and a gift from that perspective, you have to pay a transfer tax called a stamp duty paid to the Kenya Revenue Authority as a tax for the movement of ownership from its previous owner to yourself or from yourself to the next person, right? So that's the first tax. The second one is going to be while you own it. There's rates. Rates are paid to the county government, and rents are paid to the national government. And rent is where you have the biggest distinction between leasehold and freehold, because freehold land cannot be subjected to rent paid to the national government. It's possible in some counties to be subjected to rates on freehold, but that is dependent on the county in our practical experience even now. But leasehold is subjected to both rates and rents, and those are annual, and they're usually very nominal. It's a small percentage of whatever the government deems to be its value at the time. There's many changes going on now in Kenya around resetting the valuation base from 30 years ago to what it should be today. And rightfully so. It basically means people will have to pay a little bit more than they used to on an annual basis or for rates and rents. So that covers the two while you own it. And then of course, when you sell, presumably you've sold for a profit.
Yep.
You will be subjected to a capital gains tax. Right? And that is a certain percentage of your net profits the government wants a share of. I believe currently it's at 5% as capital gains tax, provided it's not in a gazetted area for that. We, for instance, as a land trading company, are exempted from capital gains tax because we are registered as a trader. Our land is treated as inventory, not as an investment, right? So certain classifications of tax registrations are exempted from that. But as an individual, if you're going to hold that piece of land for a significant amount of time, enough to realize a gain, you need to plan for that capital gains tax, and that covers the 4 basic taxes. The first one when you buy, the 2 while you own, and the 4th one when you sell.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
Let's get to the second question. We now know why it is that we must buy. Let's talk about how. How do I know where to buy land in Kenya?